Good morning, class. Good morning. Right. పొద్దున్నే ఎందుకు dull? Right. So, welcome to strategic revision. And this is going to be the first session, I guess. Right. We're going to handle governance for 6 sessions. And then you would have the respective schedule going on. I think the overall structure of the class is going to be that whenever it is required, we would have certain dictations. 1. 2, we are going to have in-class answer writing. That for whatever topic we have done on that day, we would have the respective answer writing being done. And 3, don't expect an elaborate explanation because I'm guessing you're not looking at it as a substitute to foundation course, right? Because that is not the purpose of these sessions. It's going to be quick, it's going to be fast, it's going to be consolidating, and more importantly, it's only for somebody who has some basics, right? Now, just because you don't have basics and if you're unable to connect with the session, it's not our problem, it is your problem, right? So I'm clearing the air. Why? Because many people say it's very fast, many people say it's going to be quick, right? Now, quick, fast, revising, at the end of the day, it is what? A revision course and not a foundation course, right? Because I wanted to keep all of this straight when it comes to this particular sessions, be it whichever subject it is, right? Now, when you look at governance as such, you majorly see it's worth 50 marks. There are 2 advantages of this particular section. One advantage of this particular section is sometimes it can get direct, and sometimes, especially in the context of APPSC, even examiner does not know what to give. Now, I would say this is an advantage for why will examiner not know what to give. That's an advantage, I would say, for a reason that if he doesn't know what to give, he will definitely ensure that he would give something simple. Because when you look at the syllabus of governance as such, you see it's very open, unlike other subjects per se. At least in other subjects, we were having something very objective. Now, first chapter is dealing with public administration, right? Now, whatever be the syllabus that is talking about public administration, most of the times he is focused upon this area. Or in case if he wants to maintain the context of it, he goes for the Kautilya's administrative understanding, right? Sometimes he goes for comparison of this. So that means in my first chapter, I only have 3 to 4 areas to be covered, right? Now, in case if I see this first area, it's going to be 1, evolution of administration in India. 2, Kautilya's understanding of administration. 3, Mughal administration. 4, that is British. Now, when you know the respective components of this, you can keep writing, right? Keep writing. Okay. Now, when you know the components of these, what you would fundamentally see is that even if they go for comparative analysis, then it would be easy. So that is one definite thing that you need to remember. Now, when you look at second chapter, you see it's so broad. It says government policies, interventions for development, issues, problems of implementation. Now, which policy, which sector, which development, what implementation issues, nothing is specified. Now, when you go back and refer to PYQs, because when you look at governance as a syllabus, we only have 3 years of PYQs which are existing with respect to APPSC. Now, just look at that particular section that is made. Now, this is per se, let's see at 2020, that is so-called 2018 notification. Okay. Now, look at this. He said define public administration, explain its evolution. Differentiate between administrative ideas of Kautilya and Mughal. Now, if you know Kautilya, if you know Mughal, you can happily differentiate. Look at 7th question. That means the 7th question is from your 7th chapter of the paper, or I can say 2nd chapter of governance. Define development according to Professor Amartya Sen. Explain the characteristics of new development thinking and also mention 4 areas of the government has to play a crucial role. It's so broad, right? Describe the role of NGOs and civil services in democracy. Now, he didn't know what to give from that chapter. So what he did, he picked up a question from the next chapter and he pulled it, right? Now, per se, again you see a question coming on NGOs, right? Now, one thing you observe, my dear, that this so-called RTI is present in all 3 years. So-called NGO is present in all 3 years. So-called Kautilya is present in all 3 years. Now, that means this section has an advantage that it's very broad. So, examiner does not know what to give. He gives something simple. But sometimes suddenly if the examiner is an evolved being and if he refers to the PYQs of civil services governance paper, because I only have one reference when it comes to governance, that is civil services. Now, when he gets into the reference of civil services governance paper, then he can make it tough. So, we will have to be ready for this section also, we'll have to be ready for this section also. Because governance is such subject where I can make it as simple as possible, I can make it as complex as possible when I'm writing, right? So, that is one more. Now, if you want to cross check, now this was the latest one, 2025. Dekhte hai usme. See again, administrative of Gupta dynasty was in many ways similar to Mauryan. Discuss the key similarities and differences between 2 administrative structures. मतलब ये history का question आ गया इधर. Now this is not, now where was this mentioned about Gupta in the syllabus? It is not there. But we say that it is more extensive study, so they have brought in features of British administration influencing Indian administrative system. Look at 7th question. Education is a vital sector for boosting the development of any nation. Highlight the recent developments in education policy of the Indian government. Now, what is he trying to ask you? Is he trying to ask you new education policy? Or is he trying to ask you the measures that have been conferred by the government in education sector? What is he trying to do? Right? There is no mention of education, but he picked up education. So, what am I going to do for this strategic session is I would cover 5 major sectors which are important as part of 7th chapter. In case if you can't use it in 7th chapter, definitely you can pull the information of this and write it in an essay. One sector that I would definitely cover as part of it is education. The second sector that we can cover is health. Third sector that we can cover is nutrition. Fourth sector that we would cover here is with respect to nutrition, hunger. Fifth sector that we can cover is with respect to skill. Now, sir, why are you covering these sectors? My logical basis is very simple. When I go back and refer to the governance syllabus of civil services, and when it is talking about developmental sector, I have constantly seen questions coming from these 5 sectors. तो इसका मतलब suddenly if an examiner wants to go back and refer developmental sector of civil services and see the PYQs, I see these 5 sectors popping up. So if I'm ready with the basic data of this, if I'm ready with the significance of this, if I'm ready with the issues of this, and if I'm ready with the necessary measures that have been taken, I'm good to go with any question of this sector. And anyway, taking an inspiration from this particular question, you see, although policies formulated or prepared by the experts fall short of expectations, what are the major issues responsible for the gap between policy formulation and implementation? That means he is trying to question you on public policy supply chain. So we are also going to be ready with public policy supply chain. Now, when I say public policy supply chain, what does that mean? I know any policy formulation has a sequence of events which are going on. I see something like policy agenda is set first, then I see planning, then I see formulation, then I see implementation, then I see evaluation, then I see Monitoring and evaluation will go together. Then we'll see policy feedback, and then again back to agenda. Now, what is this going to be? This is going to be our policy supply chain, and we should be ready with what are the advantages, what are the issues, what is the role of NGO in policy making also we can bring in here. If you know that policy supply chain, it's easy to write anybody's role in public policy making. If they ask you, what is the role of civil services in policy making? What is the role of NGO in policy making? I can put in all of these subsectors and we can drive an answer beautifully in that particular context. Now let's get into the third section that you see here. It's talking about developmental process, role of civil society, NGOs and other stakeholders, right? Now again, most of the times examiner is focusing on NGOs, because why is he or she focusing on NGOs? That is the only specific topic which is mentioned in the third chapter of governance. They say civil society, but don't you think my NGO is definitely part of civil society? Yes, obviously, right? And they say other stakeholders. Other stakeholders means evaru? Pressure groups, political parties. Now sky is the limit. So where are we going to draw boundary again here? The boundary is going to be, when I say other developmental agents, definitely one agent is NGO, one agent is pressure group, one more agent is SHG. And we will have a general structure with respect to voluntary organizations, right? Because anyway, in any developmental sector, we see we can have a general framework of writing when it comes to this part. So if you have a general framework with voluntary organizations, I can say rest assured, any kind of stakeholder I can handle. Now, 9th chapter is with respect to what? Statutory, regulatory and various quasi-judicial authorities, role of civil services in democracy. इसका मतलब choice में एक question तो पक्का, that is one section, that is role of civil services in democracy. That's pakka. The other part is statutory, regulatory, various quasi-judicial authorities. Now again, what is the problem? Very open, right? Now, in this, if you observe again, let us go to previous year questions and see what they have actually focused upon. Describe the work of statutory bodies with example and mention with in which countries they are set up. Explain quasi-judicial bodies providing. They have picked up the whole syllabus line and has thrown it as a question. Now that's a problem, right? What is social audit? Malli tappichukunnadu. Em iyalo teliyaledu. Chapter ayipindi. So he went to social audit, which is next chapter, right? Why does the Indian government make use of CE governance? Major governmental intervention. He skipped, right? So he gave one question and skipped. Let's see this part. What do you understand by civil society? Discuss its key features and the limitations it faces. The role of NGO has been enhanced in promoting women empowerment and welfare in India. Discuss with a focus on the key challenges they encounter. Now here, they try to make it specific and they try to make it different from the above question. If they have not given women and welfare, both the questions should have been same. Why? Because whatever role civil society plays, the similar role I see with NGOs. Whatever issues they face, I see the similar issues existing. Whatever measures I write similar measures. At the end of the day, I'm going to any given day, be it civil society, be it NGO, I will use Vijay Kumar committee recommendations for conclusion. वो तो है. And I'm not going to bring in second ARC because in this chapter it is Vijay Kumar committee which is more relevant than second ARC. We'll see that. Then, now, under which act was NCW established? Describe the main features and limitations. Which constitutional provisions empower the formation of quasi-judicial authorities in India? Explain with suitable examples. Now, what is he trying to ask you? Now, that is the problem. Right now, the reason for me to start off governance with analysis of PYQs and syllabus is this. When I'm going to deal with SNT, I'll directly jump into the paper. Right? I will not get into analysis of PYQs at all in SNT because it's all limited certain extent, and for whole one chapter, if you know 2 dimensions in SNT, it's easy. right? Again in SNT 2, first chapter will be dealt with 2 structures and rest it will be taken care. We'll see that aspect. Now here, what is this fellow trying to ask you in this? The constitutional bodies which have quasi-judicial provisions. That is the overall question. Now in exam hall, if you are not prepared to write this, then it's going to be a bouncer, right? And above he tried to bring in this statutory bodies in the form of NCW. So what we would do, we would have to learn certain common, one is NCW, the other one that we can deal is NHRC, the other one that we'll definitely deal is Lokpal and Lokyukta. The other one that we can definitely deal is with respect to NCPCR, that is protection of child rights. And the other one that you can see is with respect to NCST, NCSC, NCBC. No much difference will be there with respect to their functions. You know some functions of each, you will just have to say whether it is tribes, whether it is scheduled caste or whether it is OBC. That's a respective change that you can bring in. One more area where they talk about quasi-judicial is, I can definitely bring in the understanding of tribunals. Why am I bringing in the understanding of tribunals again? Although it is not openly specified, you look at 2023 paper. A 2023 paper lo edo cheddam and decide ayyadu, right? But that's okay. The concept of welfare state has been crystallized. Even chat GPT question lapatlo, right? Mission Karma Yogi, okay. RTI NGO role. Administrative tribunals examine whether writs and appeals are available against the decision of administrative tribunals. Right? What are the reasons for decline of integrity in civil services? Also discuss the institutional mechanism to check corruption in India. Right? I am damn sure most of us would have written this question. Why? Because we know, right? Not only we don't have to read anything, even we can write in general also. But the above question is giving me an indication that in quasi-judicial, I can bring in a perspective of tribunals. So we will have to deal with tribunals as part of our section, right? Now coming to the last chapter that you see here, actually this fellow could have spread all of this in rest of the chapters. And whole essence of governance has been thrown in 5th chapter. He says good governance and e-governance, fine. Transparency, accountability, responsiveness in governance, fantastic. Citizen Charter, RTI, Public Service Act, their implementation, concept of social audit and importance. Right? Now, whenever examiner doesn't get a question in this section, what he does, he directly goes to 5th chapter, picks up a question and puts and throws. That's what you have seen. Especially in the context of RTI, especially in the context of Citizen Charter. Now, when you look at good governance and e-governance, now good governance and e-governance have all of these characteristic features. Why is he being vocal upon them? That's not necessary, right? Any given day, good governance is driven by your 8 principles of tree crap. That is, what is your good governance that is existing. So in that context, you see it is transparency, accountability, responsiveness, right? Consensus oriented, all of those will be coming as part of that. So he's unnecessarily explaining you. Then in this Public Service Act and their implementation, does AP have a Public Service Act? Unda manku? Undale. Is it state specific or is it central? We have Public Service Bill at the center. What about state? Respective states have their own Public Service Acts to a larger extent, right? So we'll see about what is the composition and what can be the implication. See, at the end of the day, any implications of all of this is what? Good governance. Now, if they ask you what is the significance of RTI, I can straight away write tree crab. If they ask you what is the significance of Citizen Charter, I can straight away write tree crab. If they ask me what is the significance of social audit, I can straight away write tree crab. So, any given day, please understand that if I have to conclude upon this after all of this, in governance, one thing is very important, having those general templates of writing is important. Now, when I say having those general templates of writing, even if the examiner is going to go out of the ambit, I should be able to manage my governance. One. Two, having examples in governance is important because I cannot write anything in governance in air. Any given day, more or less, what do we see? It is a real-time subject which is existing and which is extremely dynamic, which has to be substantiated. Three, highly I would prefer to have flowcharts. Governance and ethics, please ensure you draw flowcharts in every question. Unna lekapoina edo oka muggu esesi randi, please. If you cannot have it, create. If you cannot create, still create. Option లేదు. ఉన్న 10 క్వశ్చన్లకి దయచేసి ఒక్కొక్క ఫ్లో చార్ట్ వేసేసి రండి. ఫర్ గవర్నెన్స్ ఐ విల్ టేక్ కేర్. ఫర్ గవర్నెన్స్, ఫర్ ఎవ్రీ టాపిక్ ఐ విల్ గివ్ యూ 2-3 ఆల్టర్నేటివ్స్ విచ్ ఎవర్ ఈజ్ ఈజీ ఫర్ యూ టు రిమెంబర్. ఖచ్చితంగా బొమ్మ ఉండాలి. Ensure, because what is going to happen, my dear, any given day my governance is going to determine what is the workflow of the system. Now, what is an easier way of understanding the workflow? Flowchart. So flowchart converging with workflow will definitely enable it to be easier when it comes to understanding by the examiner. So that is the logic that you see with respect to having flowcharts is mandatory. One more important aspect of writing governance is definitely keywords. Now, when I say keywords, that is the only aspect where I can differentiate my answer. Keywords are extremely important even when it comes to ethics. Shilpa ma'am would talk about ethics part, but otherwise, please remember governance, ethics. There are some topics like this which demands keywords. When I say keywords, it is jargons which are important. The fifth area which is important whenever you are writing in the context of governance is usage of constitutional articles. Now you might say, sir, polity only there I will write constitution articles. No. Now don't be so rigid when it comes to this. All that I would say here is with respect to what? Constitutional articles. That wherever I have a scope, bring in constitutional articles, because whole of my governance is driven by Article 38. What is Article 38? Which talks about instruments of instructions and for better governance, right? 38 as well as 37, because the ultimate objective of both of this is what? Welfare state. Now don't you think if I'm writing something on Kautilya, I can definitely bring in these articles? Because whole agenda of Kautilya was what, my dear? Welfare state. Welfare of the subjects will result in the welfare of the king. The whole concept of Saptanga theory that was existing was driven by that. Right? So what do you see? Definitely bring in constitutional articles wherever it is feasible. Right? And we would keep on pumping them as and when we progress across the separate aspects of the syllabus. Right? So that is with respect to this. Okay. So before I start, write down some data. This is going to be the general data for whole of my governance paper. Sometimes it can also converge with polity. Okay. लिख लो data on RTI. Data on RTI. More than 4 lakh complaints are pending. More than 4 lakh complaints are pending. Next. More than 8 state information commissions are without chief. More than 8 state information commissions are without chief. Next, less than 40% of information commissions, less than 40% of information commissions produce the facility of e-filing, produce the facility of e-filing. Produce the facility of e-filing. Next, data on Lokpal. Data on Lokpal. Only 40% of Lokpal sanctioned strength is present. Only 40% of Lokpal sanctioned strength is present. Next, less than 1% of complaints, less than 1% of complaints are investigated. Less than 1% of the complaints are investigated and zero prosecutions. And zero prosecutions. Next, less than 50% of the states have Lokayukta. Less than 50% of the states have Lokayukta. Next, data on SHG. Data on SHGs. Over 1 crore SHGs. Over 1 crore SHGs. See, please remember, my dear, except economy, other subjects can be handled with approximate data. Right? In economy, not too much of approximation again. But other subjects, I can definitely have approximations. That is why we are using these words more, less, above, around, over, approximately. I am indicating to the examiner that I am not exact on data, but I know it is around this particular approximation, right? So that art of approximation is required for other subject, but economy don't approximate, right? So data on SHG, over 1 crore SHGs, having more than 10 crore people, having more than 10 crore people. Next, 71% of SHGs are concentrated in South India. 71% of SHGs are concentrated in South India. 88% of SHGs, 88% of SHGs constitute women. Constitute women. Next, 98%, 98% is the bank loan repayment by SHGs. Is the bank loan repayment by SHGs. Next, data on NGOs. Data on NGOs. Over 30 lakh NGOs in India. Over 30 lakh NGOs in India. That is one NGO for every 400 citizens. That is one NGO for every 400 citizens. Next, Less than 10%, less than 10% file income tax returns. Less than 10% file income tax returns. Next, data on bureaucracy. Data on bureaucracy. Over 10 lakh posts. Over 10 lakh posts are vacant in central ministries. Are vacant in central ministries. Next, over 3,000 vacancies in All India services. Over 3,000 vacancies in All India services. Next, less than 15% of government employees are women. Less than 15% of government employees are women. And less than 15% of secretaries are women. Less than 15% of secretaries are women. Next, data on police. Data on police. 20% of the sanctioned strength is vacant. 20% of the sanctioned strength is vacant. Next, only 3% of the center and state budget. Only 3% of the center and state budget are allocated to police. Are allocated to police. Next, less than 10% of police force is women. Less than 10% of police force is women. Next, police to people ratio. In India, it is 155 per 1 lakh. But what is recommended by UN? It is 222 per 1 lakh. Police to people ratio in India is around 155 per 1 lakh. But recommended by UN is 222 per 1 lakh. Next, average conviction rates less than 25%. Average conviction rates less than 25%. Next, around 75% of the prisoners are under trial. Around 75% of the prisoners are under trial. Now let me clarify here again. There is nothing like AP governance, right? 1. Andhra Pradesh is part of India. 2. So whatever I am dictating is not AP specific, it is India specific. Now in the syllabus, can you show me any line regarding AP governance? It's not there, right? So I'm not going to talk about AP governance. Why? Because my confidence is the maximum that I can see and my PYQs also don't indicate anything AP specific. If you go and refer to the governance papers that we have of last 3 mains, there is nothing specific to AP, right? In case if they want to bring in something specific to AP also, maximum they can ask you is policies. And anyway, you would study your developmental policies as part of economy, max, right? But whereas when you look at Telangana governance, there is specifically talking about government policies of the state. But we don't have the government policies of the state specifically mentioned in the syllabus. So, if you have any doubt that I'm talking about AP or India, it is all India specific, nothing with AP specific, right? Fair enough. Next, data on judiciary. Data on judiciary. 21 judges per million. 21 judges per million population. Whereas 50 judges per million was suggested by Law Commission. Whereas 50 judges per million was suggested by Law Commission. Next. Around 5 crore cases are pending. Around 5 crore cases are pending. And 85% of the case pendency is in subordinate courts. 85% of the case pendency is in subordinate courts. And more than 12% in high courts. More than 12% in high courts. Next. Around 30% of the courts are vacant. Around 30% of the courts are vacant or have vacant positions. In high courts and subordinate courts. Next. Around 42% of the case pendency. Around 42% of the case pendency is due to the government being a litigant. Next, 48% of the cases are due to land disputes. Next, around 1.2% of GDP. Around 1.2% of GDP is lost due to case pendency. Next, India is ranked 91 in Corruption Perception Index. Slightly improving from 96. India was 96 previously, now we are 91. Slightly improving due to digital public infrastructure, e-governance, and reduced middleman corruption in welfare delivery. Right. Next. Now remember this, my dear. I would anyway give you towards the little later part something called as 1% data. Right. That's going to be a very strong weapon when you're writing answers. Okay. For suppose if I tell you 1% increase in corruption, it leads to 10% increase in cost of doing business. This is what is called as 1% data, right? Like that, you would have around 10-15 comparisons which can be done. I would not give you now. thoda baad mein, right? Probably when we kick start with SNT and when I have an ambit of discussing energy sector, in those areas I would give you a lot of 1% data. That at least 10-15 data will be there. Definitely at least in 2-3 answers of every paper we can have that 1% comparisons. Okay, but for now in governance, for every 1% increase in corruption, we see there is 10% increase in cost of doing business. Next, data on parliament. Don't think I'm having an overreach with polity subject, right? In governance also we will have parliamentary sector which is existing with respect to what? In development sector, public policy making, kahin pe bhi use ho sakta hai. So data on parliament. Number of days decline from 121 to 68 days. Number of days of sitting, please add there. Number of days of sitting decline from 121 to 68 days in Lok Sabha. To 68 days in Lok Sabha. Next, the bills referred to parliamentary committees. The bills referred to parliamentary committees declined from 70% to less than 20%. Declined from 70% to less than 20%. Right? Now, if I have to tell you one easier representation, although I'll give you in the diagrammatic representation, but just remember it like this. It was 72%, it reduced to 27%. Interchange the number, it's easy. Right? Once upon a time it was 72. Now in this Lok Sabha it is 27. Right? Next. Around 50% of the members of Lok Sabha, around 50% of the members of Lok Sabha have criminal cases, against them, Next, around 17% of MPs, in parliament are women. In bracket you write 14% in Lok Sabha and less than 7% in ministerial positions. 14% in Lok Sabha and less than 7% in ministerial positions. Next, around 10% of MLAs. Around 10% of MLAs are women. Around 10% of MLAs are women. Next, India is ranked 131. India is ranked 131 in Global Gender Gap Report. In Global Gender Gap Report. With a decline in political empowerment sub-index. With a decline in political empowerment sub-index. What is the approximate representation in local governance? 50%? How much? Around 45%, right? In local governance, women representation is around 45%. In bracket you write above global average. Above global average. Fair enough. Again, some diagrammatic representations. See, fundamentally, I am brewing all the raw material for writing my answers at a stretch, and then I'll get into chapter specific. Probably today whole day we'll look at basic raw material, and then from tomorrow's session onwards we'll get into chapter specific and topic specific, right? Next, some diagrammatic value addition, graphical representations. Okay. With respect to constitutional amendments, from 51 to 60, it is 7. 81 to 90, it is 22. And 2013 till 24, it's approximately 8. Next, number of gram panchayats. Babu, let me clarify here. Whatever I am drawing here should be there in your answer sheet, right? When I say that, I mean it. Scope unna lekapena గీసిరండి. ఆ పదం కనపడిందా గీసే. వెనక ముందు ఆలోచించద్దు, దయచేసి ఆలోచించద్దు. Why? Because this approach has benefited a lot of people, and I am not trying some stunts on your batch, right? Whatever has been proved, that anyway I am going to carry, and any given day over a period of time I also would have improved, and I also would have accessed good amount of information. So that also I am trying to simplify and bring it. అస్సలు ఆలోచించద్దు. ఈ బొమ్మలు ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో పేపర్ నిండా నింపేసిరా. ఏదన్నా అటు ఇటు అయితే నేను చూసుకుంటా. బాధ్యత అంతా నాది. పాజిటివ్ వచ్చిందంటే నీది, రైట్? ఐఎమ్ డామ్ షూర్ మై డియర్ పాజిటివ్ అయింది, రైట్? అట్ ద ఎండ్ ఆఫ్ ద డే దీస్ ఆర్ ద వన్స్ విచ్ ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు డిఫరెన్షియేట్. నువ్వు జీవితంలో ఊహించావు నేను గవర్నెన్స్లో కూడా గ్రాఫులు గీసి వస్తాను, మీతో మ్యాప్లు కూడా గీపిస్తా గవర్నెన్స్లో. ఇండియా మ్యాప్, రైట్? గీయాలి. ఎందుకు? అప్పుడప్పుడు కొంచెం అలా అతి చేస్తేనే మార్కులు వస్తాయి, లేకపోతే రా, రైట్? నౌ ఎనీ గివెన్ డే కాంపిటీషన్ ఇస్ గోయింగ్ టు బి టైట్. ఎందుకు? The way the previous notification was conducted, now everybody started getting back their reliability on the commission, and now people are very confident with respect to the respective timelines they have given. Whatever is proposed, that it would get over within time. So definitely we are going to have bump of competition. One competition is that, one more competition would be with respect to, I think it's a proposed ratio 1:15 from prelims to mains. That is what is the proposed ratio. I'm not very sure. It depends completely on notification whether it's going to be final or not. Now that means it is not going to be like previously where it was ratio of 1:50. Even somebody who gets 48 out of 240 could qualify prelims. That's not the case. Now that means you're going to fight with some of the finest probable brains of the state when it comes to mains examination. Rendu. The third aspect is, if I have to tell you something insider again, Now, what was the proposed strength? They said the notification is going to be around 91, right? But the previous carry forwards are summing up to 13 to 15. So that means what's going to happen when I have this carry forwards when people have relinquished services. So now it's going to be 91 plus approximately 13. So it's going to be around 104. That means I am not commenting upon the overall number. I can definitely say the notification will go beyond 100. 100 plus with 1:15 ratio anukunte 1500. Okala 50 ratio anukunte 5000. And whatever be the condition, your competition is going to be only among these. Because when you look at the previous aspects, the ratio of people writing mains has been 60% approximate. అంటే ఏంటి 5000 సెలెక్ట్ అయినా ఎంతమంది రాస్తారమ్మా మెయిన్స్? 3000 మంది. ఊరికే ప్రిలిమ్స్ రాసొద్దాం చూద్దాం అన్న వాళ్ళు చాలా మంది ఉంటారు. బట్ 60% is what you will write. So 3000. Out of this 3000, 1000 will be non-serious. And 1000 will be those people who are busy collecting books, materials, right, tests. కొంతమంది ఎట్లుంటారంటే you name the test series in the market, they will have it. అంటే ఆడొక బుక్ స్టోరా లేకపోతే ఏ స్టోరో అర్థం కాదు. అదొక 1000 మంది తీసే మిగిలింది ఎంత 1000 మంది, రైట్? ద స్ట్రాంగ్ కాంపిటీషన్ is going to be among them, right? And who is going to be our major competition? Our major competition is somebody who has attended civil services interview. That is the major competition. ఎందుకు? వాళ్ళు అవలీలగా ఆన్సర్లు రాస్తారు, ఏది ఎక్కడ పెట్టాలో ఖచ్చితంగా వాళ్ళకి తెలుసు, రైట్? సో ఇన్ ఆల్ ఆఫ్ దీస్ ఆస్పెక్ట్స్ we will have to play some gimmicks when we are writing our answer any given day, right? Now when it comes to these gimmicks, we'll keep discussing as we progress, because you see two papers will fool you like anything. One is essay, the other one is SNT. Either they will make you into the list or they will break you from the list. అంటే ఏంటి, నువ్వు ఎంత మంచిగా రాసినా probably you might be a caliber of research, but still you might land up with 45 to 50 in SNT. మరి నీ పక్కన కూర్చొని వాడు ఏవో 4-5 మెటీరియల్ చదువుకొని వెళ్ళుంటాడు, వాడికి సడన్లీ you'll get 85, right? So there are so many things which are going to go on. So please understand, when I draw something here, when I write something here, it's out of sheer experience. 1, 2, it is with respect to any given day we need that conversion. ఎనీ గివెన్ డే వీ నీడ్ దట్ కన్వర్షన్. సో ఎట్టి పరిస్థితుల్లో ఈ కళాఖండాలన్నీ ఖచ్చితంగా పేపర్లో వచ్చేటట్టు చూసుకోండి, ఫిక్స్ అది, నో నెగోసియేషన్. ఇది గీస్తే ఎగ్జామినర్ ఏమనుకుంటాడు, ఏమనుకుంటే నీకు ఎందుకని, నీకు తెలుస్తుంది ఏమనుకుంటున్నాడు. నా గ్యారెంటీ చెప్తున్నాను కదా, ఖచ్చితంగా పూలహారం తీసుకొచ్చి నీకు వేయాలని అనుకుంటాడు ఇలాంటి బొమ్మలు చూసిన తర్వాత. Because across the papers we would have very limited number of candidates who are going to bring in that improvisation, and any kind of improvisation in administration will always be rewarded. In exam it will be rewarded, right? So kindly ensure and keep. Why am I telling you all of this? Because this is the first class. కొంతమంది అనుకోవచ్చు అసలు ఈ బొమ్మ రెలవెన్స్ ఏంటి, ఇర్రెలవెంట్ ఏమో. ఎందుకంటే APPSC నాకు వచ్చే క్రౌడ్ అంతా ఎట్లా అంటే దే ఆర్ లిటిల్ ఎలివేటెడ్ సోల్స్, రైట్? లిటిల్ ఎలివేటెడ్ అండ్ మోర్ ఫ్రస్ట్రేటెడ్. సో సడన్గా కొన్ని నమ్మాలి అంటే ఎందుకు నమ్మాలి, అసలు నేను ఎందుకు నమ్మాలి, రైట్? సో మై ఫండమెంటల్ అండర్స్టాండింగ్ ఈజ్ వెరీ క్లియర్, మై డియర్. ఇఫ్ ఐ హ్యావ్ టు డూ ఇట్, ఐ విల్ హ్యావ్ టు బిలీవ్. వై యూ షుడ్ బిలీవ్? యూ షుడ్ బిలీవ్ అంతే, రైట్? ठीक है, गुड. Number of gram panchayats, again art of approximation, approximately 20,000, then approximately 1.8 lakh, approximately 2.5 lakhs. This is around 1950, this is around 1992, this is around 2022. Any question on 73rd, 74th, this graph should be there always, right? Social audit, draw this graph. Local body, draw this graph, right? Social audit lo kuda ee graph giyochu, endukante it's very relevant depending upon my local body string that is existing. ठीक है. Next. Lok Sabha functioning time. Two 2019, 2024. 100%, 50%, right? Less than 50%. 50 కంటే కింది తీసుకురండి. Less than 50%. Next. Some of the states which are performing very well with e-governance, right? Kindly represent this in map. ठीक है. That is Haryana, West Bengal, Chhattisgarh, Telangana, Goa, Kerala. Right? Again, simple representation. Right? Next. With respect to online public service, see the 200 to 1200 is online services. Internet has inclined or increased up to 800 million, and Aadhaar registrations have been 130 crores. Next, SSG credit. SSG credit. Right? Is it done? No. sources of income for SHG. Next, is it done? That is the areas of functioning of NGO. Because when we criticize NGO, we say it is sector bias. It is regional bias to a larger extent. So when we say it is sector bias, most of its work is present where? Health and education. More than 55% in health and education, 20% in environment, 15% women, 10% others. Right? Next. No, that 200 is not the base for all pointers, my dear. 200 was the base for online services. 200 was the base for online services, right? So was it appearing like that? Next. NGO funding. Go to data. Go to data. NGOs, we have written some data. Yes. Under that, add one more. Around 60% of NGOs receive less than 5 lakhs grant. Receive less than 5 lakh grant. Next, 75% of NGOs. 75% of NGOs are unregistered on Darpan portal. Are unregistered on Darpan portal. Yes. Some flowcharts. See, anything regarding development sector. Anything regarding development sector. State, civil society organization, market, and this is going to be what? Either you can use it for development, you can use it for welfare, you can use it for governance. State, political, economic, environmental, and legal. Civil society organizations, mobilizing people, resources, and awareness. Market, balancing supply and demand. Balancing supply and demand, and creating opportunities. Now, in case if you want to, suppose if they're asking you per se civil services, right? Along with the state, you put civil services, because anyway you see state here composes of what to me? That's going to be my state. And any given day civil services is going to be part of executive, right? So modify the diagram accordingly. Now, in case if they're asking you something on NGO, instead of CSO, you put NGO. Here I can bring in civil services. Accordingly, whatever you're putting, because at the end of the day, all of these are definitely the agents of development, right? So bring in that perspective there. Then, shall I move forward? Yes. Good. Rastanaramma, Rasara. For any policy, right? It has to be what? Practical, citizen centric, fiscal prudence, dynamic, expert driven, and derived from 3Ds. See, this is very relevant in second chapter, right? Relevant in second chapter in case if they ask you anything general on policy, or they can also get into asking general on policy maybe even in fourth or fifth. Anywhere something general on policy, straight away get into this. So this is debate, discussion, deliberation. Debate, discussion, and deliberation. Right? Next. In case if I'm writing something on citizen charter, I can have two diagrams, but choice is yours. One is simply put components of citizen charter. Category of service. Quality of service. Responsible officers. Timeline of service. Grievance redressal. Eligible beneficiaries. Eligible beneficiaries. If not that, citizen charter any given day is a component of Goutham model. Grievance redressal. Now, when you look at citizen charter, it is to review, it is to monitor, it is to implement. When you look at service delivery, It has to be citizen centric. It has to motivate staff or motivated staff. Upgrade infrastructure. In grievance redressal, you should first receive, then address, then prevent. See, this diagram can be relevant in citizen charter, can be relevant in public service, right? Wherever we feel can be relevant in good governance as well, right? Because there also we would have this aspect present with respect to Sevottam model, right? Next, I've written. Some general flowchart. Probably you can use it whenever you have questions on accountability, transparency, right? Be clear with arrows in this. See, these are going to be fantastic tools to fill pages, right? Target ఒకటే అమ్మా, 42కు తక్కువ కాకూడదు. 40కి తక్కువ అయితే ఖచ్చితంగా పుష్పలో డైలాగ్ వస్తుంది, ఒకటి తగ్గింది, ఒకటి తక్కువైంది. 42కు తగ్గద్దు, ఫిక్స్. సార్ నీకేమైనా పిచ్చా, నువ్వు ఎందుకు అట్లా చెప్తున్నావు? తగ్గద్దు. ఎనీథింగ్ షుడ్ నాట్ బి లెస్ దెన్ 42 pages. It's a blank sheet. You use this filler content, right? And ensure that you push every question to 3 pages and last 2 questions to 2.5 pages. That's the target. ఇంకా అందులో తగ్గేదే లే, ప్రసక్తే లేదు. We will have enough filler content to fill the page, right? Now don't you think this eats away my half page? Relevant? I don't know. Irrelevant? No. ఖచ్చితంగా irrelevant కాదు, relevant కాదు, నాకు తెలియదు. Where all can I draw this? Wherever I don't have any diagram in governance, I'll draw this. Right? Question ఏదైనా diagram ఒకటే. Sir, will this make sense? Absolutely. Because overall, this is the central idea of governance that we have. Right? So, ensure that you're not going to have anything less. Because one common issue that I see among people is people say, sir, I will focus on quality. I would have accepted your point if it was UPSC. In APPSC, I need quality and quantity at any cost. At any cost. This is proven, my dear. TGPSC also it is proven, APPSC also it's proven. Naku volume kavalsinde. Will I bring in irrelevance in my volume? No. Relevance? Yes. Relevant content with filler content will give you that volume. నాకు ఆ బఫ్ లేకపోతే కంటెంట్లో ఎగ్జామినర్ మార్కులు ఇయ్యరు. ఒకటి. రెండు, if I have to see more of convergence of the words that examiner is wanting to see, I will definitely have to inflate my answer. And that inflating aspect is going to be again through filler content. So ఖచ్చితంగా 42 పేజీలు, and I told you if somebody can fill 44, nothing better. Right? It depends completely on what is the degree of revision that you have. Absolutely. Because more revision, faster recollection, better writing any given day. And the amount of practice that you have done. Right? And daichesi, I keep telling my dear, 13 questions, 3 pages. Last 2 questions, 2.5. Now, if somebody says, no sir, I can't write 3, I will only write 2.5. I'll teach you an art how to write 2.5 but make it appear like 3. దాచాం చాలా ఉన్నాయి. Right? I'll teach that technique, don't worry. You would have technically written only 2.5, but examinerకి అది 3 లాగా కనిపిస్తుంది. We will have some illusionary effect in the context of answer. We'll slowly progress with respect to those techniques. APPSCలో కంటెంట్ లేక సెలెక్షన్ రాదు అన్నది కాదమ్మా. APPSCలో నీకు ఎలా రాయాలో తెలియకుండా సెలెక్షన్ రాదంతే. దానికి ఒక విధంగా ఉంటుంది. రైట్? నువ్వు ఎస్సే బ్రహ్మాండంగా రాసుంటావు, యానెక్డోట్స్ రాసుంటావు, ఇంకెట్లా అంటే ఇంకా ఎగ్జామినర్ అది చూసి ఒక భావోద్వేగానికి గురవుతుంటాడు, కానీ మార్కులు వేయడు. ఎంత బాగా రాసినా ఒక 45-50 దగ్గర ఆపుతాడు. 75 వరకు ఎప్పుడు పోద్ది? దానికి కొన్ని చేయాలి. రైట్? అదేవిధంగా ఇన్ ఎవ్రీ పేపర్ యూ హ్యావ్ సర్టన్ మ్యాండటరీస్ టు బి డన్ ఇన్ APPSC. అది గుర్తుపెట్టుకో. నేను కంటెంట్తోనే బండకు పోయి కొడతాను అంటే అవ్వదు. చరిత్రలో లేదు, ఇక ముందు జరగదు కూడా. రైట్? జనాలు ఏమనుకుంటారు, నేను అన్ని బట్టి పోతాను, అంతా రాస్తాను, అయిపోద్ది. అవ్వదు. కొన్ని ఎక్స్ట్రా. రైట్? వాట్ ఆర్ దోస్ ఎక్స్ట్రా? విల్ డిస్కస్. రైట్? నౌ హౌ డూ యూ నో అబౌట్ దీస్ ఎక్స్ట్రా, సార్? Right? 1, personal experience. 2, the experience of guiding lot of students and lot of rankers. 3, talking to many people. 4, basic common sense. Now when I have all of these 4, automatically we know what to be done in every paper, everything. Right? So please remember that these gimmicks are going to take you long. Even with lesser content, they can definitely put you at least in the interview list. But after that, what you do there, okay, what you do there, then the speed of Saturn on your head, everything will matter. Right? A factor koncham untadi. Kani the speed of Saturn in mains examination can definitely be controlled with these aspects. We'll control. Okay. collusive corruption, coercive corruption. Yes, I'll show after this, my dear. Right. Gain. Now, if you want to write collusive corruption, you can also write here. That's relevant because when I see it's definitely bureaucracy, business, politician, that is where I will have collusive corruption, right? May not be very evident, but definitely their role will have to be there. Okay? So all three are coming together in collusive corruption. So you can also put collusive corruption in the center. That's up to you, your choice. Would the diagrams be enough explanatory to examiner if everything is in the same color in the exam? Yes. ఇప్పుడేదో మీకు ఇంట్రెస్ట్ పెంచడానికి రంగులు గీస్తున్నాను కానీ ఎగ్జామ్లో రంగులు మార్చేంత టైం నా దగ్గర ఉండదు. ఒకటి, రంగులు మారిస్తే పేపర్ డిస్క్వాలిఫై అయింది. రెండు, నేను అదేదో ఒక ఎవరో చెప్తుంటే విన్నా, చూసా. దట్ హెడ్డింగ్స్ బ్లాక్తో రాయి, కంటెంట్ బ్లూతో రాయి అన్నాడు. అప్పుడు మంచి మార్కులు వస్తాయి ఏపీపీఎస్సీ Group-1లో అన్నాడు. మంచి మార్కులు ఏం కర్మ, రైట్? అసలు ఎన్ని మార్కులు వస్తాయంటే నీ పేపర్ ఎవాల్యుయేట్ కదా, అన్ని మార్కులు వస్తాయి. సో ప్లీజ్ అండర్స్టాండ్ ద రూల్ ఆఫ్ సింగిల్ కలర్, రైట్? సమ్ పీపుల్ సే వీ కెన్ గో ఫర్ యూసేజ్ ఆఫ్ పెన్సిల్, రైట్? లేదు సార్ నాకు ఇంకొంచెం ఎక్స్ట్రా చేయాలి అంటే యూజ్ పెన్సిల్, బట్ ఐ వుడ్ నాట్, అంత టైం ఉండదా, రైట్? యూ మైట్ థింక్ సార్ వీ హ్యావ్ 12 minutes టు రైట్. ఇక్కడ ఛాలెంజ్ ఏంటంటే యూఆర్ కంపేరింగ్ ద టైమ్. వెన్ ఐఎమ్ రైటింగ్ ఏ 10 marker in UPSC, I will have maximum of 7 minutes. But I am writing 10 marker in APPSC, I will have almost 12 minutes. But the concern here is, here you are only writing 2 pages and here your emphasis is on quality. You don't buff up the quantity here. But whereas in here what I am happening, I am writing almost 3 pages. I am focusing more on quality. Proportionately I am focusing on quantity. One way of buffing up this content or bringing in quantity is diagrams. The other element of quantity, I would tell as we progress in the class, we would talk about exploring something called as implicit dimension of a question. Generally this doesn't come in the initial time. This will take some time for us to identify what is an implicit dimension in the question. Why am I going to explore implicit dimension of a question when I am writing an answer is very simple, that I don't want to make it appear irrelevant because I am trying to buff up my content. Right? Now, when I want to maintain the relevancy, I am going to derive implicit dimension from the question. Explicit is what is being asked, that everybody can see, everybody can identify. But what is more important is, if I want to increase the volume, I am going to get implicit dimension. Right? How to identify that, how to get into implicit dimension, how to maintain relevance by writing implicit dimension, we'll discuss as we progress, right? Because when we start in class answer writing, we'll see first number of parts in the question, then we'll see what are implicit dimensions, what are explicit dimensions. Anyway, everybody will write on explicit dimensions, but what is implicit dimension and how to derive implicit dimension, we'll learn and we'll again draw and write something on implicit. Okay? So remember that. So you might think that's easy, actually not. But when you go back and refer to last year some papers like economy per se or some polity paper, the length of the question was very high. When the question goes beyond 2 lines, definitely question is lengthy. And in that particular context, what was observed, that it demanded lot of interpretation, it demanded lot of focus, especially to identify number of parts that were existing in the question. Right? You go back and refer polity paper as well as economy paper, you will see this concern existing in APPSC. Right? But whereas in history paper, what? It was all single line, questions, but the problem there was what? There was so much out of syllabus. Something about Warangal fort, we never studied. Right? Something about the sex of Saivisham with respect to Kakatiya dynasty. We would never emphasize so much. Maximum we know is we study some religious dimension of Kakatiya in that 2-3 aspects. Okay. Next. One more you can put in for social audit. What is principle of subsidiarity? In general, what is principle of subsidiarity? It's all about the local governance where we use that principle of subsidiarity, that if a lower organ can function, let it function. Reducing the amount of interference from the upper organization and let the lower systems or let the lower organizations function if they can function. Now, whole agenda of local governance you see is driven by principle of subsidiarity. When you are writing your introduction, you will have to write that 73rd, 74th is based upon what? Principle of subsidiarity. Your 11th schedule, 12th schedule is again based on principle of subsidiarity, the powers that are devolved to the local government. Okay. Right. This is one. Now, where all I can use this? Wherever you don't have anything to write. Right. Especially something like good governance. Something like how should be your policy formulation happen, or what is going to be resultant of policy feedback, right? How can I ensure developmental framework of a country? In any of these instances, I can definitely bring in this mnemonic. I can definitely bring in this mnemonic. Right? Other mnemonics again. Pre-crap. Transparency. Rule of law. Efficiency and effectiveness. Equity and inclusion. Consensus orientation. Responsive. Accountability. Participation. What is the relevance of this? I would say you can never complete your governance paper without this. ఇది రాయకుండా గవర్నెన్స్ రాసేవంటే ఏదో తేడా కొడుతున్నట్టు. Fixed, right? Components of good governance. Significance of RTI, social audit, citizen charter, social accountability, e-governance. A significance, we can straight away get into this. Because that's all whole of my governance is centered around. Right? In case if you are unable to recollect any of the points, straight away bank upon this and you can definitely write good points. Right? Because next set we will see is set of examples. Set of examples for every topic of your syllabus. So what am I doing? I don't know whether you're getting it or not. I'm brewing all of my raw material. Now, why am I doing that with governance and why will I not do it with geography or why will I not do it with S&T? Is because in governance, most of my questions can be derived, or most of my questions can be analytical, or most of my questions can be interpretative. If it is simple, you will handle. The simple part is what we do later. In case if it's going to get complex, I told you, it can either way go. If it's going to operate on the complex side, then all of these will come handy to interpret the question and manage of the answer, right? Idaithe gurtupettukonnama, because just like last year, you see the surprise element was in geography. Indian geography, AP geography, చదువుకొని వెళ్ళాం కలిపి. మహానుభావుడు ఏమి ఇచ్చాడు? మొత్తం ఏపీ జాగ్రఫీ ఇచ్చాడు. 5 క్వశ్చన్లు ఏపీ జాగ్రఫీ ఇచ్చాడు. మళ్ళీ ఇంటర్నల్ చాయిస్ కూడా ఏపీ జాగ్రఫీ. నాకు అప్పుడే తెలిసింది ఏపీలో అంత జాగ్రఫీ ఉందని. వర్స్ట్ పార్ట్ ఏంటంటే హీ హెస్ గాన్ ఫార్ ద డిజాస్టర్ ప్రివలెంట్ ఇన్ రాయలసీమ రీజన్. ఐఎమ్ ఫ్రమ్ రాయలసీమ. మాకున్న ఒకటే ఒక డిజాస్టర్ కరువు. అంటే ఇప్పుడు నేను ఫ్లడ్స్ రాయలేను కదా ఒకటి. సరే పోనీ మాకేమన్నా కోస్టల్ రీజన్ ఉందా అంటే లేదు. కోస్టల్ రీజన్ ఉంటే కనీసం సైక్లోన్ అన్న ఏదో ఒకటి రాయొచ్చు. ఉన్న ఒకటే ఒక డిజాస్టర్ ఏంటి? డ్రాట్. ఏం రాయాలి? 10 మార్కులు అంతే రాయాలి. ఎందుకు? అప్పుడెప్పుడో కర్నూలులో తుంగభద్ర ఫ్లడ్స్ వచ్చాయి కదా, రైట్? విల్ సంబడి ప్రిపేర్ అబౌట్ రాయలసీమ డిజాస్టర్ ప్రొఫైల్ అనుకో, అది ఎవడన్నా బయటకు వచ్చి చెప్పాడు అనుకో, ఖచ్చితంగా పచ్చి అబద్ధం అది. మ్యాక్సిమం విల్ ప్రిపేర్ ఇస్ వాట్ మై డిజాస్టర్ ప్రొఫైల్ ఆఫ్ ఏపీ మ్యాక్స్, రైట్? కోస్టల్ కాబట్టి రాసేయచ్చు, బట్ హూ విల్ ప్రిపేర్ రాయలసీమ? అండ్ దే వర్ టాకింగ్ అబౌట్ రాయలసీమ డ్రాట్ మిటిగేషన్ ప్లాన్ క్వశ్చన్. అలాంటప్పుడు వాట్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు కమ్ హ్యాండీ ఈజ్ ఓన్లీ క్రైసిస్ మేనేజ్మెంట్. Crisis management. And all of these are part of your crisis management, value addition, buffing up the content, filling the space, right? So that is what we are doing it on the first day for governance. Okay, next. I can also have Ma Seva, right? Ma mobilizer, agitator, a service provider, educator, watchdog, advocates, advocator and Raigan, advocates, a mobilizer, what all can be mobilized? Opinion can be mobilized, resources can be mobilized, people can be mobilized, awareness can be mobilized. The strength of this mnemonic you will see when you're writing answer, right? I will agitate against what? Injustice. And we can agitate for what? Rights. Service provider, especially to augment the service delivery. Educator of rights, policies, administration. Watchdog, majorly accountability, and accountability of what? Actions and finances. An advocate for what? Reforms. and provides feedback. Advocates for what? Reforms and provides feedback. ఎక్కడ వాడొచ్చేది? నీ ఇష్టం. NGO, SHG, pressure group, civil society organization, wherever you want to use you can write. What is the significance of NGO, pressure group, SHG, right? Civil society organization. Question ఏదైనా ఆన్సర్ ఒకటే, right? In case if that fellow is going to twist and turn and give you something, you handle the twist with this. Is this clear? I am telling you, you will not realize this now. నువ్వు అలా NGO సిగ్నిఫికెన్స్ రాసుకుంటూ పోతే నీకు 15 పాయింట్లు వస్తాయి. ఎగ్జామినర్కి అర్థం కాదు, నీకు అర్థం కాదు. అంత ఉందో సిగ్నిఫికెన్స్ అనిపిస్తుంది. బికాస్ that's going to be the strength of all of these mnemonics, right? And what is a bigger point is it's not going to eat away time for me to recollect. ఎప్పుడైనా ఒకటి గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి బిఫోర్ ఐ go to the next one, there is a way of attempting the paper. When I say there is a way of attempting the paper, what do you do? What do you generally do? Straight away pick up and start attempting, right? ఒకటి గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి, one thing that I will tell you is please attempt in order, right? Don't write 9th question first question last. ఏమనంటే నాకు తెలిసింది నేను రాస్తాను, నేను మోనార్క్ని, ఎగ్జామినర్ పెద్ద మోనార్క్. రైట్ ఇన్ ఆర్డర్. ఎందుకంటే అన్ని క్వశ్చన్లు రాయాలి. ఒకటి, అన్ని రాయాల్సినప్పుడు నీకు ఎంత వస్తే ఏముంది చెప్పు, వచ్చినంత రాయి. ఖచ్చితంగా అన్ని రాయాల్సింది. నౌ ఫర్గెట్ అబౌట్ ద 10th క్లాస్ రూల్, ఎగ్జామినర్ ఇంప్రెషన్. పిల్లనియడయా ఫిక్స్, దానికి ఇంప్రెషన్ ఎందుకు? Objectively for every question he is going to see whether you have written the content or not. So the fundamental rule and principle is, many people have breached upon this, write in order from 1 to 15. First question to start చేయి. లేదు సార్, లేదు సార్, I want to shuffle sections. You write, say section A, all questions at one go. Section C, all questions at one go. Or there is no harm, you start with section C, all questions at one go. Because don't let the examiner go on searching for those sections. It was not supposed to be there in economy paper, but last year that fellow gave sections. ఎందుకంటే ఎకానమీలో సెక్షన్స్ లేవు మనకు స్పెసిఫిక్గా, రైట్? SNTలో సెక్షన్స్ లేవు. But in the final paper also you don't see much of sections. When there is no section, I would highly recommend write it in order. When there are sections, I would say write one section at a stretch. Okay. Now here, when I am writing paper 1 per se, that is, I am considering essay separately. When I am writing paper 1, what I would tell you, section A is what? History. Section B is what? AP history. Section C is what? Geography. Now among these we are strong with 2, average with 1, or we are strong with 1 and average with 2. In case if I was supposed to tell you my strength will lie here, my strength will lie here, I am average with this. Yes, I definitely know when I am writing my last section, I would have approximately 50 minutes in last section, because first section will go off in first 1 hour will go up in warming up, right? Where in first 1 hour you can write how much? 4 per se. If you are writing 4, that means what is happening? You are picking up 15 minutes per question. In the second hour, what are you supposed to do? You are supposed to ace it. In the last hour, you are going to write again 5. Now this is going to be some order, because most of us will be having that starting inertia when it comes to writing questions. Now the best attempt would be what? 555, that's an ideal attempt, right? But దానికి రావాలి అంటే ఏదో ఒక అవతారం అయి ఉండాలి, అప్పుడే అది అయింది. ఎందుకంటే ప్రతి మనిషికి స్టార్టింగ్ ఇనర్షియా ఉంటుంది. నువ్వు ఎంత ఎక్స్పర్ట్ అవ్వు, ఇనర్షియా ఉంటుంది. మ్యాక్సిమం యూ విల్ రైట్ ఇస్ 4.5 questions here in first 1 hour. ठीक है? So now here what are you seeing? I will have to ace my second hour. If I don't ace my second hour, what's going to happen? I'm going to have spillover effect to my last hour, which is going to complicate. Now when I'm writing last hours, if I'm writing say 6-7 questions, my quality is going to be compromised definitely. There's no doubt. So what can be done? In the first hour, say you're starting with this. Now my expertise will lie with geography any given day. Now I know I can write geography all 5 questions in 40 minutes. Iska matlab what I will do, I will pump this here. And what am I going to play? I'm going to play my weaker section last. Yenduku? I want to somehow increase the speed in the second hour. In second hour, if I write some section which is weak, I'm going to miss upon questions. When it comes to this paper, whatever we have started, one troublesome paper here or one troublesome section here is ethics, right? And batti poi రాసి వచ్చే ఆన్సర్లు ethics లో కావు. ఎందుకు? వాడు సడన్ గా కొన్ని క్వశ్చన్లు ట్విస్ట్ చేస్తాడు, దానికి నువ్వు ఆలోచించాలి. Now that means I will have to maximize my efforts where? In the third hour, right? Or second hour. Now what can be done here? What I was suggesting and what I was also following is, first I will write polity, right? Now that means say I have written 5 questions. Then I will write ethics because I will have to think a lot. నేను ఆలోచించాలి చాలా. Now when I am thinking a lot with ethics, what will happen, my dear? I am going to write this second, I am writing this first. Now I know I am left with 45 minutes and I am supposed to write governance, and I know I am strong with governance, right? Now the major reason in this is, when are you positioning ethics? If you position ethics first, you're going to miss time. If you're positioning ethics towards the last, you're going to compromise on quality. If you're going to position ethics after polity, you're going to do justice to the question, because in ethics we will have additional component called I will have to think and write. And the bigger problem in ethics is going to be to expand that content. So rather than writing 3 pages, what I would see here, I would stick to 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. So I'm going to save time in volume, but I'm going to invest time with respect to quality. So that means any given day, if I have to score more in this paper, these two have to be arranged and this will come towards the last. And in that context, what's going to happen? I will have to somehow ace my writing of governance. ఎకానమీలో నీకు ఆ స్కోప్ ఉండదు. వచ్చింది వచ్చినట్టు రాసుకుంటూ పోవాలి. వచ్చింది వచ్చినట్టు కాదు, ఇచ్చింది వచ్చినట్టు రాసుకుంటూ పోవాలి. 1, 2, 3 అదే ఆర్డర్లో రాసుకోండి. ఎస్ఎన్టీలో నీకు ఆ స్కోప్ ఉండదు. వాట్ యూఆర్ సపోజ్ టు డూ? ఇన్ ది ఆర్డర్. డోంట్ మేక్ ది ఎగ్జామినర్ మూవ్ అప్ అండ్ డౌన్. He and you doesn't have any bondage, or she and you doesn't have any bondage, or is there an agreement between you and examiner? లేదయ్యా, వాడికి ఏం మ్యాటర్ అవుతుంది? వాడికి వచ్చే 1000 రూపాయలు. అది నాకు తెలియదు ఎంత ఇస్తారు, నాకు తెలియదు. అజ్యూమింగ్, రైట్, ఒక్క పేపర్ ఎవాల్యుయేట్ చేస్తే 1000 రూపాయలు రావాలి. ఇక్కడ your marks are going to depend upon inversely proportional to the time that he is going to invest on the paper. Now for suppose there are 2 candidates whose paper evaluation got over in 15 minutes, whose paper evaluation is taking 45 minutes. అంటే వాడి పేపర్ ఎవాల్యుయేట్ చేసేటప్పుడు వాడి మైండ్లో ఏం నడుస్తుంది? అరే ఇది ఏం రాశాడు ఏంటో, నాకు 3000 పోయింది. లాజిక్ ఆలోచిద్దాం మనం. ఎవాల్యుయేట్ చేసే వాళ్ళు ఏంటి? దే ఆర్ ఇన్ ద గృహస్థు ఫేజ్ ఆఫ్ దేర్ లైఫ్. అంటే దే విల్ హ్యావ్ టు ఎర్న్, దే విల్ హ్యావ్ టు కాంట్రిబ్యూట్, దే విల్ హ్యావ్ టు మేక్ దేర్ సన్ స్టడీ, డాటర్ మ్యారీ, సన్ మ్యారీ, రైట్? అట్లీస్ట్ satisfy some aspects of the family burden that is existing. వాడికి ఏం మ్యాటర్ అయింది? వీని ఖచ్చితంగా కలెక్టర్ చేయాలన్న మ్యాటర్ అయితే నీ పేపర్ ఎంత తొందరగా ఫినిష్ చేశానన్న మ్యాటర్ అయితే. లాజిక్ మై డియర్, హ్యూమన్, మనిషి ఎవాల్యుయేట్ చేస్తుంది. నో సపోజ్ యూ రైట్ 9th క్వశ్చన్ ఫస్ట్, 10th క్వశ్చన్ నెక్స్ట్, ఫస్ట్ క్వశ్చన్ వాడికి ఏమైంది? ఫ్రస్ట్రేట్ అవుతాడా అవడా? ఇప్పుడు నేను సడన్గా మీకు 5th చాప్టర్తో స్టార్ట్ చేస్తా, మళ్ళా 2nd చాప్టర్ నుంచి కొంచెం తీసుకొస్తా, నచ్చుతుందా మీకు? అసలు ఎందుకు నచ్చట్లా? ఆర్డర్. ప్లీజ్ అండర్స్టాండ్ మై డియర్, డోంట్ ఫ్రస్ట్రేట్ ఎగ్జామినర్. వాడికి ఎంత ఈజీగా నువ్వు కంటెంట్ స్వాలో చేయగలిగితే నీకు అన్ని ఎక్కువ మార్కులు. 2. మూడో సిద్ధాంతం ఏంటంటే, ఇది ప్రతిసారి ఆన్సర్ రైటింగ్ సెషన్లో చెప్తాను, నువ్వు 1000 సార్లు అడుగు ఇదే చెప్తాను. నాట్ నోయింగ్ ఈజ్ నాట్ కరెక్ట్. ఈ సిద్ధాంతం నువ్వు జీవితాంతం గుర్తుపెట్టుకో ఆన్సర్ రాసినప్పుడంతా. మనం ఏమనుకుంటాం, మనకున్న ప్రాబ్లం ఏంటంటే ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఓవర్లోడ్ కదా. మన దగ్గర ఏముంది, ఒక 1000 ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ల టెస్ట్ సిరీస్ మెటీరియల్ మన దగ్గర ఉంటుంది. Group-1 ఆస్పిరెంట్స్ అంతే, దానికి ఇంకా దెర్ ఈజ్ నో సబ్స్టిట్యూట్, రైట్? ఎందుకు నువ్వు నడుచుకుంటూ పోతుంటే వాడు ఇంకోటి ఏదో తీసుకెళ్తుంటున్నాడు, మామ ఎట్లుంది అది, మామ సమ్మా సూపర్ ఇట్ ఇస్, యూ బై దాట్, యూ బై దిస్, రైట్? సమ్ XYZ ABC వేరియస్. అండ్ ఏమనంటే, సార్ ఐ హావ్ రెడ్ all 4-5 టెస్ట్ సిరీస్ అండ్ ఐఎమ్ రెడీ టు రైట్ ఆన్సర్. ఓకే, బ్రహ్మాండం. నౌ హియర్ మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ యూ విల్ టార్గెట్ వాట్? అవుట్ ఆఫ్ బాక్స్ కంటెంట్. ఏదో రాసేయాలి, రాస్తావు బాగానే ఉంటుంది. ఎవాల్యుయేట్ చేసే ఆయన ఏజ్ ఎంతయా? 45, 50. కొంతమంది దే ఆర్ రిటైర్డ్ అండ్ టైర్డ్ ఇన్ లైఫ్. 2. Retired and tired in life, probably with wife also, who knows? Depending, I'm not being gender specific here. Now, do you expect him to update content? మీరు చెప్పండి. మీరు ఒక్కసారి సర్వీస్లోకి పోయిన తర్వాత న్యూస్ పేపర్ ముఖం చూస్తారా? అది వేరే విషయం. నీ గురించి ఏమైనా రాశారా అని వెతుక్కుంటారు, అది వేరే విషయం. నీ ముందుకు విలేకరు వచ్చుంటాడు, నువ్వు విలేకర్ని సాటిస్ఫై చేసి ఉండవు, వాడు ఏదో వెళ్ళి రాస్తాడు, బాగానే ఉంటుంది. నీ గురించి ఏమన్నా వచ్చిందో చూసుకుంటావు, అది వేరే విషయం. కానీ న్యూస్ పేపర్ చదువుతావా? చదువు. అప్డేట్ చేసుకుంటావా? చేసుకో కదా. డూ యూ ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ దిస్ ఫెలో టు అప్డేట్? నో. వాడికి ఏం తెలుసు? ఆల్ దట్ హీ విల్ నో ఇస్ బేసిక్ కంటెంట్. అండ్ ఐ ఆల్వేస్ సే basic content is going to be the king. And I would tell you, my dear, the only common thing that is existing between you and examiner is syllabus. Source కాదు, syllabus. అంటే నా ట్రిక్ ఏంటి తెలుసా? ఆన్సర్ రాసేటప్పుడు ప్రతి ఆన్సర్లో ఖచ్చితంగా 6 పదాలు సిలబస్ నుంచి రాస్తాను. అది సివిల్స్లో కూడా అంతే. 6 పదాలు డైరెక్ట్ సిలబస్ లైన్స్ నుంచి ప్రతి ఆన్సర్లో ఉంటాయి. నేను నా ఆన్సర్స్ చూపించినప్పుడు చెక్ చేసుకోండి మీరు. ఎందుకు అది చేస్తున్నాను? వాడికి నా ఆన్సర్లో ఏదీ తెలియకపోయినా కనీసం 6 పదాలు చూసినప్పుడు సాటిస్ఫాక్షన్ వస్తుందా? బా, నాకు తెలుసు, వాడికి తెలుసు, బాగుందయ్యా ఇదేదో. And don't you think it will stop him from putting 2.5 and definitely put you minimum at 4.5? ఎందుకు? ఈ 6 పదాలు. నీకు ఇంటర్వ్యూ కావాలి, నీకు ఇంటర్వ్యూ మార్కులు రావాలి, నీకు సెలెక్షన్ రావాలి అంటే కొన్ని చెయ్యాలి. దట్ ఈజ్ అబ్సల్యూట్. దాంట్లో దేర్ ఇస్ నో గోయింగ్ బ్యాక్. ఖచ్చితంగా నీ ఆన్సర్లో సిలబస్ పదాలు ఉండాల్సిందే. And when we are going to discuss that content as we progress, you will see that I would have incorporated those 6-7 words in every aspect that we discuss. ఎందుకంటే నువ్వు అది బట్టి వెళ్ళి రాసినా నువ్వు 6 పదాలు ఎన్షూర్ చేసినట్టు. ఈ సబ్జెక్టే కాదమ్మా, ఏ సబ్జెక్టే. ఆర్ యూ అండర్స్టాండింగ్? దీస్ ఆర్ సమ్ వెరీ వెరీ బేసిక్ ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ ఆఫ్ రైటింగ్ when it comes to this exam. ठीक है. So in all of those aspects, definitely a crisis management and this becomes important. ठीक है. మనకి ఇంకొన్ని నిమానిక్స్ ఉన్నాయి. Tomorrow we'll do some mnemonics. we'll do some examples, bunch of examples for suppose something like SHG, e-governance, right, or per se NGO. Prati danki కొన్ని examples ఉంటాయి. We'll do that bunch of examples and then get into the first chapter, that is public administration. In public administration, majorly 4 areas: scope of public administration, 2 Arthashastra, that is Kautilya, 3 Mughals, 4 British. PYQ మన గుప్తా కంపారిజన్ ఉంది కాబట్టి కొంచెం రెఫర్ చేద్దాం, ఎందుకంటే ఆ ఆంబిట్ వదలొద్దు. ఎప్పుడున్న PYQs ద కింగ్, రైట్? ఆ ఆంబిట్ వదలొద్దు. సో విల్ రెఫర్ పార్షియలీ టు దట్. అండ్ వెన్ వి గెట్ ఇన్ టు సెకండ్ చాప్టర్, దట్ ఈస్ the policies and stuff, there we'll see some general understanding with policy making, public policy in India, the policy sequence and the policy flow chart. And then I'll give you some general template in case if some question goes out of the ambit, how to write those answers. And then we'll look at some specific sectors, as I told you, 5 sectors, right? So that is the fundamental aspect that we would go about. And tomorrow onwards we'll start ఆన్సర్ రైటింగ్, రైట్? ఇప్పటికి ఇంకా నేను మీకు ఏం కంటెంట్ ఇవ్వలేదు కాబట్టి వీఆర్ నాట్ డూయింగ్ దట్. ఫ్రమ్ టుమారో విల్ స్టార్ట్ ఇన్ క్లాస్ ఆన్సర్ రైటింగ్ అండ్ వీ విల్ డూ 2 questions లైక్ దట్. అండ్ ఫర్ ఎవ్రీ క్వశ్చన్ ఐ విల్ టెల్ యూ పేజ్ అలైన్మెంట్. నాకు పేజ్ అలైన్మెంట్ అంటే చాలా మంది నెగ్లెక్ట్ చేసే కాంటెక్స్ట్ అమ్మా అది. పేజ్ అలైన్మెంట్ అంటే ఏముందిలే నేను ఆన్సర్ రాసేస్తా అనిపిస్తుంది. బట్ what is going to come in my first page, what is going to come in my second page, what is going to come in my third page, that is what is called as page alignment. So in that particular question, if I am writing in exam hall, what is my page alignment? Where is my intro? Where is my heading? Where is my conclusion? Those aspects. Is this clear? So we would handle it in this particular manner. Now you don't have to explain any diagram. Diagram గీసావు, నువ్వు ఏం చేస్తావు? మాక్సిమం డయాగ్రామ్ గీసినప్పుడు గీసావమ్మా ఏమంటావు? You will simply say corruption, right? What you will write here, whatever you are drawing it for, you simply put that heading, that's all, right? Component of, now what will you write here? General characteristics of policy, because now we have that ambit of drawing diagrams because it's a blank page. If it was a line page, it was problematic. Okay, right? We'll meet tomorrow with respect to this subject. Any doubts you want to ask something? ఏమైనా ఉన్నాయా? సెకండ్ పేజ్ ఇదమ్మా, ఓకే, రైట్. నా కళాఖండాన్ని మళ్ళీ చూడాలనుకుంటున్నాం. CC is not citizen charter. Where I wrote CC? We'll go to that. ఎక్కడ రాసామ్మా కరప్షన్? CC అని రాసానా? అచ్చా, ఓకే ఓకే. అది CC అన్నది సిటిజన్ చార్టర్ కాదమ్మా, కోవర్సివ్ కరప్షన్. అది ఎక్కడ కరప్షన్ దాంట్లో? మీ సేవలో, మీ సేవ కాదు అది, మా సేవ. ఏందమ్మా మీరు? మీ సేవకు పోయి దిస్ CC is not citizen charter. CC is collusive corruption, రైట్? మా సేవలో CC ఏడున్నాయా? CC లేదు కదా. ట్రీ క్రాప్లో CC ఉందా? అది సిటిజన్ చార్టర్. అది can you show the chart with the number of gram panchayats? Tree crop CC is citizen charter. Babu, you have next class at 2 o'clock, right? Not immediately. That was the information that was given. So you'll have class at 2 to 4:30. Now some of you who have any constraint of going back, we have a study hall piche, right? You can go sit there, study, prepare, and then come back for 2 o'clock, right? In case if that schedule of 2 o'clock continues tomorrow also, then we can do one thing, we can straight away start governance at 11, so that you will not have any gap. If that is going to be tomorrow, crisis again, right? If it's going to be again tomorrow also 2 o'clock, then we'll start governance at 11 to 1:30 or 10:30 to 1 we can do. Then 1 to 2 go for lunch, and 2 to 4:30 you can finish your second class. ఒకవేళ అది రేపు కంటిన్యూ అయితే, రైట్? మీ అందరు గ్రూప్ క్రియేట్ చేశారా, చేయలేదా? చేశారా, చేయలేదా? తెలీదా, చేయలేదా? ఓకే, రైట్. ఐ లాస్ట్ దెమ్ టు డూ దట్ సో దట్ వీ కెన్ హ్యావ్. Could you give me the recording for 2 p.m. class due to work conflict? Right? They'll give you, my dear, don't worry. They will give you. ఇంకేమైనా ఉన్నాయా ధర్మ సందేహాలు, ఎనీ డౌట్స్, ఎనీ కన్సర్న్స్? రైట్, ఠీక్ హై. రైట్, నౌ కంప్లీట్లీ రిలై ఆన్ దిస్. నువ్వు చేయాల్సిన పని నేను చేస్తాను. లేదు సార్ నువ్వెందుకు చేస్తావు? రైట్, మీ మీద ప్రేమతో చేస్తున్నావు అంతే. నథింగ్ లైక్ దట్. This is all going to bring everything into one place. Now, many people would not have made notes with respect to civil services mains or any mains. Man dagar notes undadu. So we are going to bring all of it into one place. Right? You can absolutely rely on this. Keep this as your base and revise and keep writing. And the beauty of this notes is going to be the more number of times you revise, the more better execution it is going to give you. Okay? That's it from my side for today. We'll meet tomorrow. Thank you.